Hey y'all, this is Shane Messer. Welcome back to Daily Music Theory. Today we're going to be talking about intervals again. So last time when we talked about intervals, we looked at, we talked about quantity, the numerical value. We talked about quality, the sound the interval has based on the number of whole steps and half steps. And with quantity, we always start by counting the note we start on. So if I'm going C to E, C to E is a third. And then to get the quality, we count the number of half steps and whole steps, and we don't count the note we start on. And we see C to D to E, we see that is 2 steps. Yeah, I forgot the number of that. I was like, wait, 2 steps. Yeah, so we see that's 2 steps, and that of course is a major third. And yeah, so we listed all the intervals that we have in Western music out, and now we're gonna talk about how we can classify them, because I know I touched on that a little bit last time. They can be classified as consonant, dissonant, or pure. And pure sounding intervals, they have a really open sound, really strong open sound. There's an ant on my keyboard, I'm trying to get it off there. And consonant intervals have a happy, pretty sound, and pretty dissonant intervals have a really harsh, clashing sound usually. So which intervals are which? Well, I made a little chart here, but before I give it to you, I want to see if you can figure it out. So we have our unison, our seconds, minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, the tritone, or augmented fourth, diminished fifth in between, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, and major seventh, and octave. So let's start with the pure ones. I think those are easiest. I think I mentioned those in the last video. The pure intervals are basically the ones that we refer to as perfect in terms of quality. So C to G, the perfect fifth, C to F, the perfect fourth. If you take the perfect fifth, it can sound kind of Eastern, or it can sound it can be used for like Celtic music, open fifths. Yeah, so that's the perfect fifth. Perfect fourth, it can also sound kind of Eastern. It's similar, but it's actually, the perfect fourth is slightly more, some people would say it's slightly more dissonant, slightly more, it's a pure interval, but it's slightly more, it has a tendency to almost want to resolve to another interval sometimes, some people would say, and that's why it was banned in Baroque counterpoint, but that's another story. Just know that the perfect fourth, it sounds open and pure, it's a pure interval. Just like the perfect fifth, it's a pure interval. The perfect octave, yes, unison, yeah. So the perfect fifth, the perfect fourth, the perfect octave, and the perfect unison, those are all pure intervals. The constant intervals, those are our thirds and sixths. So minor third, even though the minor third sounds sadder than the major third, minor intervals are always slightly smaller. They're a half step smaller than major intervals. Minor third, major third, minor sixth, major sixth, minor sixth, major sixth. Okay, so those are our constant intervals, our thirds and our sixths. And our dissonant intervals, of course, that's all we have left is seconds and sevenths. So minor seventh, really clashy, right? Major seconds, they're pretty clashy. It's more, you might notice it sounds a little bit more, it sounds more consonant, but it's still a dissonant interval. So there's varying degrees of dissonance and consonance within each group. Because yeah, that sounds a little bit more, it's not as bad as, it's a little bit more consonant, but it's still clashy, it's still dissonant. Yeah, it's still dissonant. Now the sevenths, yeah, minor seventh, or major seventh, sorry, very clashy, major seventh, pretty classy, not as bad, but pretty clashy, it's a little more consonant, but it's still a dissonant interval. And the tritone, the augmented fourth or diminished fifth, it's kind of hard to classify, it's just kind of weird and creepy. But we're going to call it, I'm actually going to add that on there, we're going to call the tritone dissonant. And so here's our chart. Second, seventh, and tritone is dissonant. perfect unison, fourth, fifth, and octave as pure, and then consonant our thirds and sixes. Sorry, that might look like a 2. Those are meant to be 6s, by the way. Okay. So next, let's talk about inversions. Because the thirds and sixes, the ones that are consonant, those intervals, they're inversions of each other. And by inversions, all I mean is we're taking the note that's on top and we're just flipping the notes around. So I think I do an example on the back with the perfect intervals, because the perfect fifth and perfect fourth are inversions of one another. So right here at the top, up here, I drew C and G together. That's a perfect fifth, we know that. And we can count C, D, E, F, G, that's a fifth. And then a perfect fifth, it says on my chart here, is 3.5 intervals for a perfect fifth. So we see that C to G, if we count, it's going to fit that. C to F, C to G is the perfect fifth. But if we go G to C, what if we go to G to C? It's the same 2 notes, but this time G's on the bottom, C's on top. G to C. G, A, B, C, that's a fourth, and it's a perfect fourth. It's the same 2 notes, but they're flipped. That's an inversion. And all intervals have inversions of each other, so the inversion of a perfect fifth is a perfect fourth. The inversion of a major third is a minor 6. Now when it comes to this, the other intervals that aren't perfect, their inversions are kind of like their opposite. So the inversion of a major third, C to E, we take C to E and we invert that and go E to C. That's up a 6, it's up a minor 6. So, and if you need to visualize on the keyboard, go ahead, C to E. That's what I played the first time. The second time I played E up to C. I just flipped the 2 notes, basically. I flipped which one was on bottom. And so, major third, E to C is a minor 6. And same thing with the minor third. If I flip a minor third, it becomes a major 6. I played A to C the first time, the same time I played C to A. Same with the seconds and sevenths. B to C, that's a minor second. I flip it, it becomes a major seventh. That's why the major seventh is very dissonant, because it's almost like it's basically a minor second that's been inverted. And if I take a major second and I flip it, I get a major seventh. Yeah. So that's basically inversions in a nutshell. It's just flipping the interval and you get a, But it still follows this chart here, because if you flip a third, you get a top of 6. If you flip a second, you get a top of 7th. You flip a fourth, you get a 5th. So that's inversions. I know I touched on diminished augmented intervals in the last video with the tritone being an augmented fourth. And there's a little diagram I drew down here. I copied off. I hope y'all can read it. On this side, this is what my thumb is here. On this side it says large, this side says small, and you might not be able to read that, but it basically it diagrams the terms we use when classifying intervals. So diminished means that it's smaller than normal. Augmented means it's larger than a normal interval, like a minor. So basically a minor interval is slightly smaller, so a minor third's a half step smaller than a major third, we know that. Or diminished is smaller than minor, augmented is larger than major, basically, when it comes to the intervals. So let's look at some examples of that, because I can be really confused, I know, just talking about it. I've drawn over here, where let's take the note C, middle C right here, right? And let's say I want to go to C sharp. I'm not going to call this D flat. Let's say I have C, and it's, I think I wrote this out, C to a C sharp. I'm going C, and then I'm going to C sharp. Now it's a half step. It sounds like a minor second. Well, but if we have to get quantity first with intervals, right? We always find the quantity before the quality. C to C sharp. I'm not changing the. It's still a first. It's still a unison. C to C sharp. So, how do we classify that? Because it sounds like a minor second, but it's definitely unison, because C to C sharp, it's still the same letter name, so it's still a unison. C to C sharp, if I'm counting. So that's what we would call a C to C sharp. We would call that an augmented unison. Okay, because C to C to C is a unison. C to C sharp, since it's still a C name, it's an augmented unison, and we could write that basically as capital A unison, or yeah, because usually for unison you just abbreviate UNI. Usually, I think so. Yeah, so it's an augmented unison. We apply this augmented diminished stuff to any interval. So the third, major third, we know is like C to E, for example. Minor third, C to E flat. What if I have C to E double flat? And a double flat, we know a flat lowers a note named by a half step. A double flat's just going to lower it by a whole step, basically. So basically, instead of going C to E, C to E flat, when I say E double flat, I'm basically going to D. Just like how we know an F flat's an E and an E sharp's an F, right? Or a double flat, you're just going down another half step, basically. So you're going to whole step in total. So if I write that out, just a second. And a double flat symbol, by the way, it's just, you know how the flat symbol's a B, or a double flat's just two B's. And the sharp symbol, we know it looks like a hashtag, it looks like an X for a double sharp. So a double flat and a double sharp, of course, just raises it 2 half steps or a whole step. Double flat, 2 half steps down. So C to an E double flat. Roll that right there. Wait. Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 B's right there. It might look like it's supposed to be 2 B's. So C to E double flat. That's basically, like I said, basically C to D, but it's C to E double flat. So it's a type of third called C, D, E double flat. Okay, we get the quantity, it's a third. What type of third? Well, that would be a diminished third, because if it's C to E, that's a minor third, then a C to E double flat, it sounds like a major second. So that's going to be a diminished, diminished third. Sorry, I got distracted. That's going to be a diminished third. And so yeah, I think that's basically it. The only other thing I can think of with intervals, we're going to use this a lot. Intervals are the foundation, basically, for the rest of Western music theory. Really, the only other thing I can think of to talk about with intervals is ear training. Ear training is just training your ear to recognize musical patterns and pitches and things. Yeah, interval ear training is probably one of the best things I can recommend at this point. Basically, there's on Tone Savvy, I put it in the description before, I'll put it in the description on this video. Tone Savvy is a really good site. It has all kinds of exercises you can practice interval ear training, which is where you train your ear to recognize intervals. So, perfect fifth, perfect fifth again, I think. Yeah, perfect fifth. Minor third. Yep, minor third. And see, so basically I'm kind of quizzing myself there with the piano by pressing down random. I kind of have an idea what I'm pressing, but I'm not for sure. I'm just, that was just guessing. But with Tone Savvy, it'll give you, it'll play 2 notes for you, and you can have them ascending, descending, simultaneous, or harmonic, however you like, and you can practice identifying intervals by ear, and it'll help you recognize them on the fly better. Because honestly, when I've used C to G a lot, or C to, use C a lot, and we'll see why that's so when I get to scales. But C's a really easy key to work with, which is something we'll see later. But any interval, like if I see A to E, I automatically know that's a fifth, and that just comes from experience and just seeing and hearing intervals on a regular basis. So yeah, practice ear training, practice exercises if you want to get better, and yeah, if you have a little free time. Yeah, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. So peace out. Have a great day. God bless.